Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Tea Time podcast. It's me, Ashley Breeze, aka Ashleen White, and we have a lovely panel of trans women here to talk about the whole Victoria's Secret drama and a few other things. I'll let each girl introduce themselves one by one, quickly.
Sure, shall I go first? Hi, I'm Kachenga. I'm a writer and journalist from London.
Hi, I'm Sharon. I am calling in from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And my name is Sen. I'm calling in from New York.
Yeah, I would like everyone to give their titles. So I want them to know that everyone up in here is qualified to be talking about this shit.
Do I really have to run down my resume? Okay.
Real quick. Yeah, give it to us, girl.
Okay, so my name is Sharon Cooks. I am an activist. I do community organizing. I have a consulting firm called Making Our Lives Easier LLC, where I provide quality resources and information to underrepresented communities. I served as a DAC delegate for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in 2016. I was also the first trans person to chair a citywide commission here in Philadelphia. I have my undergraduate degree from Arcadia University in philosophy and ethics, and I am currently in my second year of my master's degree program at Temple University.
All right. Oh, and also tell people about your podcast that you do, Philly Fresh.
Yes, and I do a podcast with my friend Amber Ashley Parker. It's called Filthy Fresh, and you can go. It's PhillThy, and fresh is spelled PHRESH. And I will post it on my page, and you guys can go to the Filthy Fresh Facebook page. Thank you, Ashley.
Okay, next. Sen?
Yeah, so my name is Sen. I'm a trans girl living in New York City. I'm a writer and an aspiring media maker. Yeah, that's it. I don't know.
And last we have
Yeah, hi. I'm
yeah, we ready to Kachoga ready to
I said already I'm a writer and a journalist, right?
Right, definitely. So let's just get straight into it. I want to know what you girls think about this whole Victoria's Secret, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I really don't understand. I really don't understand what the big deal is. You know, I feel like when these brands let us know that we're not welcomed, there's no point of fighting for them to accept us. We just have to go where we're accepted. There's so many brands that have showcased trans models. Why do you think there's so much of an uproar?
Well, I'll go first. First off, I think that what really charged me about this is that I saw the article, I saw what the exec had to say. He's 80 years old. And when I saw your post this morning, it really resonated. And it's like, and I have constantly said this in a lot of my Facebook lives and made comments about this on social media, is that it is totally fine and okay for any segment of our community if they want to be in show business, if they want to be models, that's totally fine. My issue is that when we're out on the front lines as an activist who's been to several different demonstrations, who's organized several different community events, who's spoken at tons and tons of rallies, it just really seems I never see these girls there. And then the moment that something happens or they get rejected or they get discriminated against, then they want us to be their mules and do all the footwork for them and call out these businesses and these organizations. But where were you when we needed some canvassing done for some of the trans people who were running for office? Where were you galvanizing your fans to support people who are trying to make legislative policies and fight what's going on in the White House? At the end of the day, a lot of these people are using the platform, using trans issues to get media attention. And when it all boils down to it, they're being very self-serving in their interest, and they're trying to make it seem like they're about community, and it's not. Listen, sis, make your money, but let's stop sitting here and pretending that you are some righteous advocate when in all actuality, all you are is seeking is fame and fortune. That's okay.
Speak on it, sis. Speak on it. Speak on it. And you know what's so crazy, that I felt like when I see all these people with, having a platform is a beautiful thing. It's nice to be able to have that, have your platform. But if it's already for just yourself, like some of these people, they won't even post that there's a serial killer in Florida killing Black trans women, but they want to post they didn't get a job or another gig. And it's like, when you speak about it, people think that you're bitter because you're not getting that job. Like any trans woman who can face this world and step out into society is a trans model. We're all trans models, if you really want to speak on it. And I said that being a trans woman and the trans experience is a trans experience. It's not a social experiment. These girls are transitioning for profit and fame. There's some people who they see it as a job being a trans woman. Like it's a role that they're playing. Talk on it.
Are we going to name any of these girls who were posting this morning? Because I know there was Isis King who posted. There was Gina, I've forgotten her surname. Is it Rosero? I know Lena Bloom has spoken in the past about wanting to be a Victoria's Secret model. And I mean, I agree with literally everything that's been said. What I felt when I first saw this, I did feel confronted because I'm trans and plus size. And so I felt, I didn't feel, I wasn't angered in the same way, but what I did feel confronted because I'm trans and plus size, but also because of the wording around Victoria's Secret being a fantasy. And what I feel was being said is what used to be said about why Black models or any other marginalized person weren't featured on covers and in some magazines, because they used to say things like aspirational. We're an aspirational brand, and here they're using the word fantasy. And what I feel what they're trying to say is no one fantasizes about being trans. No one fantasizes about being plus size. Come on, guys, if we're being absolutely honest, no one wants to be that way. But yeah, everyone wants to be of a particular size, and look how many models of color we've got. We've given you this much. Do we really need to push it any further and let more quote unquote freaks in? And I didn't want to make a big song and dance about it, because it's not the same. But I feel like when Trump put out that thing saying that he didn't want trans people to be in the military, I felt that there were similar parallels and arguments around that. So, one could easily say, why are trans people fighting to take part in the military industrial complex? This is, why would you fight, to go abroad and kill other marginalized people? This is a burning house. What? And essentially, all I see is that in these very different arenas is we're being told we don't want you. And I don't think that's healthy for the collective psyche of trans women. I think that those girls who are trans models who are speaking up now, I haven't heard them say so in like a particularly emotive way, but I feel that these girls, probably when they were little trans girls, were looking at the TV, like staring up, gawping at Adriana Lima and Tyra Banks and Naomi, and saying, oh, one day I'm gonna like walk just like those girls, and one day I'll be just as pretty and I'll be just as beautiful. And that's what they've had as their end goal in their aspirations. And this guy saying this broke their hearts because he snatched away all of their childhood dreams that one day they would be that girl too.
Yes.
And so I do feel compassion for these girls who have that body, who've spent tens of thousands and years of diligence working as models to get to this point, and they will only be allowed in the kooky, you know, I mean, I don't know what phrase to use, but, you know, not the main fashion houses at New York Fashion Week. We know who are really supportive. Is it Marco's and the Chromat brand and everything? There are some really inclusive brands. Thank you so much for telling us about T-strings. Actually, I'm clicking through now, and yeah, looks cute. And you know,
right. and people, and the more people that support those people who create, you know, stuff for us, they will get bigger and better. But if we're not supporting them, then they're gonna be failed. They're gonna just pay it. Like no one's buying it. It's time to close shop.
Well, see, here's part of the issue. Now, I'm glad that you brought up Naomi Campbell, because that's a very poignant point. Now, Naomi Campbell also had other people that were saying, if you are not going to use her, we are not going to participate in your show. So if anyone knows the story behind Naomi Campbell, they know that she had the support of Kate, Linda, and all of the rest of the girls. Now, see, my issue is that if we have all these trans people in Hollywood and we're so tapped in, why can't we create our own show? Where are all these girls who are on TV, not putting their money in a pool to produce something for us and by us? Where are all these gay designers who are supposed to be our allies? Most of these men that are designing clothes for women are men, and they are gay. So where are our accomplices and are our allies?
Right. Right. And that's another thing, that trans women can't work together. So much cattiness, so much egos. I feel like that's part of the reason why the girls, it's like a lot of people, they just can't come together. It's always going to be an issue.
So because it's always going to be an issue, like there are a lot of things that are of high priority in America right now, particularly with politics. And I totally agree that, you know, watching television and being a girl who has the stature and has the body type to be a model, you know, to know that company doesn't necessarily want me. Yes, I do sympathize. I don't want to come off unsympathetic, but at the same time, these are the same girls who don't support activism, who don't support policy and politics. There are girls that are on the front line and that are writing about this stuff and that are giving the issues like being imprisoned in a male facility and being trans, not workplace discrimination, public accommodations, homelessness, poverty. Like, we have to start prioritizing. And I think that if we really start pulling our resources together, if we really want to talk about unity, we can't even get our own communities to come together and pull our resources together to build something for us, because people are so very singular in their interests. And that's fine. My whole issue is the hypocrisy of it all. So now all of these girls expect activists to start doing something because they've been rejected. Well, let me tell you something. There's something called reciprocity. And when you do stuff for people and you're a comrade to their cause and their issues, they will be a comrade and a cause to your issues.
That's right. That's right. I agree. Sin, what did you think about the whole situation?
I kind of agree with everything that's been said. I just feel like Personally, like I was never really invested in Victoria's Secret like that. I did not care if I saw myself represented in their shows. Like, I remember when, like, I feel like a lot of girls have already tried to push for, the girls have tried to push for trans inclusion in the shows. Like, I remember a couple years ago, Carmen Carrera, like, launched a campaign to get on, to be one of the angels, and now Lena. And I just feel like for them, it was like they like Huchenga said, like they were invested in this company, they were invested in this brand. But I also agree that like I'm not really like fighting for them. I'm kind of just like the marketing, like the chief marketing officer is saying that he doesn't think that trans women represent like the brand or whatever, or not desirable. Basically, that's what he said, because he's saying we're not the fantasies. People probably don't desire us. We don't belong in that, on that runway.
That's a lie. You know damn right we're the main fantasy right now.
And that's my point. The point is it's not a good fit for their brand, but it's a good fit for someone else's brand. And that's it's just like any other brand name. They are looking for people and faces that represent what their brand stands for. Just like Chanel has a certain type of girl, Ralph Lauren has a certain type of girl. And truth be told, and I'm going to go here, all this visibility has really damaged the community, because when those girls like Caroline, when they were posing for Playboy, it was tattooed on their forehead that they're trans. And if these girls were to be using trans to get on TV and get a microphone in their face, and they were to just live their life, maybe they might be cast.
Wow.
If you got on television and told all your tea, you would be cast as a Victoria's Secret model.
So wait, so Sharon, okay, let me say this.
Secret is saying the only people that can represent their brand are cis women. Then I'm not investing in their brand, like, you know, like.
Right, but let me say, Sharon, going back to what you said. So wait, I agree with most of what you said, but let me see if I'm getting what you're saying right. You're suggesting that the girls just play the game and not disclose that they're trans?
No, what I am saying is that you just live your life. What is the purpose of disclosing that you're trans unless you're sleeping with someone?
I think,
well, for a model, I think some of these trans models, I feel like, yeah, they probably feel that having trans attached to them is going to get them the gig.
Really? I think that it's proved itself to be a disservice, because I don't think it's actually possible to be stealth in this millennial age. I think that your tea will be clocked quite easily, regardless of how you look.
And that is exactly the problem, because when Tracy Africa was walking the runways in New York 70s, it was no tea. When she was on the Clairol box, it was no until a homosexual male said, okay, we've all seen we've all seen her return to Clairol commercial, okay? So I'm not saying individually, I'm saying as a collective, and I'm including myself in that. As a collective, we have shared way too much with the general public. We should be keeping these spaces for us. By sharing so much with the general public, now we have these bathroom issues. Now we have the girls being rejected from Victoria's Secrets. This has damaged us more than it has helped.
Ooh.
And we still don't have a comprehensive federal law protecting us in housing, employment, or public accommodations. And trans people are still underemployed. So what has visibility given us besides a microphone and these institutions that are not doing anything for us, that promise that that they were going to get these things passed, and they did not.
Wow, scathing.
I mean, I definitely agree that there are like more pressing matters, like when it comes to trans women, especially trans women of color. Like, yeah, there's definitely more important things to worry about. I just feel like the message that this sends out is detrimental. Like it's not, because like literally like all the girls that we named, right? Like Gina, Lena, Isis, there's nothing really about them that sets them apart from the other angels, because they're still I wouldn't say, I mean, they're still lighter than most
Yeah, it's true.
they're light skinned. Okay, I'm just saying, they're light skinned, they're skinny, they're, you know, conventionally attractive. So there's nothing really like that it's not that much deviation from what Victoria's Secret has always presented us. It's just the fact that they're trans. So like that also kind of sends a message to people that I don't think is gonna help us in the end.
But it's part and parcel, isn't it? I think at the end of the day, it feels like it's a war on all fronts. So if it's not Trump, then it's the chief marketing officer at Victoria's Secret. It feels like every other day there's a new something. And I feel that the message is, we don't want you. We don't want you. We don't want you. We don't want you. And I'm scared about the impact that this is having on trans youth. For those of us in our adult years, you know, who have self-caring tools and have learned certain things and have been through traumas and have had experiences of therapy and have a network of, you know, supportive trans women who we can talk to when we're feeling stressed out or isolated or abandoned. That's fine. But like for young trans people, like to hear every other day different institutions say, you know what, we don't actually like you guys. I think that's what's most damaging about it.
Right. It makes people want to be stealth. It's like, oh, well, I might as well not be visible.
I think, to be honest, and particularly in London, I find it interesting because sometimes I'll go out and there are these beautiful girls and I'm like, where are you guys? You know, I don't see you around online or ever, and I realize that there are so many more girls living stealth than I would have imagined, in spite of this increased visibility, because it really is just safer. And
if they can pull it off, not everyone can be stealth. Let's put that out there. Not everyone. There's some people.
I mean, I don't want to go. I don't want to go there, but sure.
Well, let's just keep. I'm just, you know, keeping it real.
Well, maybe it might not be for you. Rethink your decisions in life.
Yeah, some people, you know, there is pretty privilege. Pretty privilege is real. Some people can be stealth if they look. If they're not, you know, they're not clockable. But there are girls who are undeniably trans that do not have the option to live stealth. So they have to, it's like, it's always on their forehead, you know? And I think that, all the girls you mentioned, like, I think that if the girl has the right credentials and she deserves the spot, I would love to see Isis King pull out a pair of wings and walk the. She has paid her dues, but a girl who just transitioned, she got FFS and now she's on the catwalk. Like, what is the message that sends? That this is how you become this is what it takes. No, trans life is more than runways. You know, I think that with social media, everyone's a socialite. Everyone's a public figure. You know, all it takes is just buying a couple of thousand followers and you're solidified as an advocate or whatever, just to get the gigs. You know, talk on it. I know, Sharon, I know you know it all. You know about this. Like, the girls are paying to.
I'm going to just, I'm just going to say this and then I have to go. But like, really, Ashley, like, that is something that is very real. That's something that's very valid. And I don't have a problem with anybody doing that. I just want people to understand that there are real people out here that are on the front lines, that are real journalists out here, that are trans, that are out here on the front lines, talking to people, meeting people, building their networks at the end of the day. If people want to be celebrities and they want to have fame, that's all fine. You want to have a team, you want to pay for your Instagram followers, you want to do all that, that's all fine, well and good. But let's not, have this farce that you're really for the people and you're really doing this for the people when it's really self-interested. And that's very evident by the people that you have around you. All of these people who are pushing their books, all of these people who are, doing these shows and directorial debuts. Where is your trans staff when there's girls out here that need jobs? This is my question. So we have to take accountability and responsibility for what we're doing in our community. And we have to hold these people and call these people out. And listen, sis, you were called on this show to talk about how, Trump is trying to redefine sex based off Title IX, not to push pose.
Is that aimed at someone in particular? Is that?
I'm just saying. I've seen a lot of people on television who are advertising their directorial debuts and how we have this trans cast, but I don't see anyone in your personal network that is actually who you're giving these jobs to. We could even go further because I have insider information that the whole cast of Pose was a second choice because none of the cisgender people that they asked wanted to be a trans person because they didn't want their career damaged. And the that they were going to use for hiring one Hollywood star, they used to disperse throughout the whole entire cast. And on that note, ladies, I gotta go. And if you're making that much money off that, you should be making enough money off that show that you don't have to fund me to get your surgery.
Wow! Oh my God.
This has been Sharon Cooks from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can go to my public figure page, or you can go to my Facebook page, and you can go to Filthy Fresh. It's been lovely with you girls. We have to do this another time.
You can't just leave like that.
Why?
I can't take this tea deluge. I feel like, that was like a tsunami. And I'm like adrift.
I'm drenched in tea.
Well, I'll tell you what. Ask those girls about it, honey, and see what kind of answers they come back for. And all those girls out there who are tweeting that show, we know that you're getting paid off each tweet that you send out there too, honey. I know how this game works. Y'all the flick, okay?
Oh,
I thought all the producers and like the casting people, like like Janet Mock wrote for the show. A lot of the people that were on set are actually like in the ballroom community. So so isn't it kind of like, like I don't know what that was about.
Well, I'm still soaked in tea that I have to place together.
What it's about is trans people being underpaid and not being paid the same as cis people. Follow along.
I mean, I'm not even sure how that will be redressed in the following season because based on season 1, won't their profile have raised somewhat? Like if they're coming back for season 2, will they be negotiating new salaries and stuff?
I would think so, honey, but the girls are running GoFundMes, honey, so they could get their SRS. I'm just saying, if you're on a show, you have all this national
currently
followers, but why does the community have to pay for your surge?
Sorry, I did not catch that part. Okay, so I missed that bit of tea. That's shocking.
It is. It's very shocking. You got to pay attention to what's going on. But I have to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Later. Maybe we'll have a tea time part 2.
We want to. I can feel my thirst coming on already. We must do this again.
My gosh. Dropped out. That was quick.
Wow.
Wow. I don't know what's going on. Well, I know. Despite, her comments about Pose, I love Pose. I think that I see all the good in it. And there's a lot of people who they've changed their mind on what they thought trans was by seeing the show Pose.
Really?
And,
that's cool.
Well, because a lot of people think that trans is RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, wow.
So when they see, these trans characters being, played by trans people, it really gives them a better idea of what trans looks like. Not all trans women have this,
high glamour, high.
Yeah, like some of the girls look like every other girl. So,
I didn't know that a lot of the people that were working on set and a lot of the actors and stuff were not being paid as much as the cis actors. But hopefully, like if the show continues and there's a season 2, that they do pay them equally because.
Yeah, of course, but that's always like that. I mean, they're gonna pay Julia Roberts more than they pay a brand new actor who has no other credits. That's just how it is.
Because the whole rallying behind Pose was because like a lot of us knew that people that were in the scene, like in the ballroom scene, in the ballroom scene, were working on set. Like for example, I did like one extra, like I did one day where I was like, I played like an extra or whatever, and I saw like all of all the people that I know in the scene like on set, and they were behind the camera. Like I don't know if I should say name, but like Genovia, I think everybody knows Genovia. Genovia was on set, and Mark was on set. So I hope that if that's true, if what Sharon was saying is true, then they get their dues like next season or maybe even like before next season, because that's kind of the whole purpose of us watching Pose was because we knew that it was kind of like a give back to the community. We thought that the show was giving these people opportunities and jobs and.
I mean, I think look. Here's the thing. Obviously, it has done, and. With trans writers, trans producers, trans actors, all up and through that production. It was an exercise in how to be radically inclusive and to delegate accordingly and to share power. But it's still an issue of power because everything's quite nascent. I think that in 50 years' time, hopefully, will be in decision-making positions, will be in leadership positions where we aren't, banging on the door of these institutions, begging for a seat at the table. And even though, it's great that we have this electric energy about our newfound visibility, we still lack tangible positions of leadership.
Right, I agree. I'm gonna put the link in the chat because a lot of the people in the chat, they have a lot to say, and you girls feel open for some.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hopefully, I put the right link. Okay, let me know if that link in the chat works. But yeah, I really feel like a lot of people who never knew anything about trans women, like they learned, stuff from the show. And I think, it's important that we have these shows. I know Sharon dropped a lot of bombs, and like I'm gonna have to sit back and pick up all the pieces because I didn't know. I mean, I feel like GoFundMe's these days, like, hey, if you have the reach to get all that coin, and if you're using it for what it's for, then hey, I'm all for it. But there are girls that will put up a GoFundMe and know damn right that they got Medicaid and that Medicaid pays for SRS, and they just want to cash in all that fucking coin. Let's be honest. I'm not saying the person she was talking about. I'm just saying that there are people who have abused GoFundMe for their own, to live a lavish life.
Stop.
You know what
were you saying, Finn?
I wanted to say that the part that I do agree with Sharon on is that, like, and Kuchenga, like, the power dynamics that exist in, like, in the real world between trans people and cis people still are the same, like, when it comes to pose, because I feel like the exchange was so, like, again, I don't know what Sharon knows, but I don't know what the people that were on set were being paid, but even if they were paid a lot or whatever, I feel like the exchange is still uneven, because all the cis people behind Pose, like Ryan Murphy, even the cis actors, what they're kind of getting out of this, like, Ryan Murphy now has another brilliant show under his belt. He has kind of like access to this culture that he had nothing to do with. I just feel like a lot of, like, non-trans people, like a lot of white or non-black gays or whatever, like, I feel like they're getting a piece of something that they don't really deserve. And then, yes, they might be giving jobs and opportunities to these actors, producers, but it still just felt like an uneven exchange. Like,
I want to say, so let's talk about the fact that trans women are fantasies.
Yeah, we must.
Like, damn right. These men fantasize more about chicks with dicks than vaginas.
You know what? Let me be hilarious and talk about the trade that I had this evening. Because, before this call, I was having sex with a DJ. And so we were talking afterwards. And, he was talking about the fact that he's DL and, can't tell his friends, can't tell his family, no one knows. Because he's living this life and he's got kids and whatever. But he said, I always ask him, so what was the first contact that you had with trans girls? And it was pornography. He clicked on on a tab or something that said TS Monica. And he saw what she had going on downstairs. And then, clicked away from it and then clicked back on. And for 13 years, that's all he did, was click on TS porn and, masturbate away, fantasizing about us before he has the confidence and access to us via various dating websites. And what I find interesting about the way that trans attracted men operate before they get in touch with us in real life is they have this long period where all they do is have us in their minds and on their laptops and the computers and their magazines, salivating and thinking and not discussing it at all. So we're a part of their imagination for such a long time. And that's why, I guess, when we have a first time or whatever, you can feel that nervousness. Was that a grinder drop that I just heard there? Someone...
Sin, was that you?
I just heard a little...
Sin, are you on Grindr?
That was a grinder sploosh I heard just there.
No, I think that was you, Ashley.
That was not me. I was muted.
I was muted too. But you know what's crazy is that Actually, no, I shouldn't even say this. But like, yeah, that wasn't me.
That's hilarious. Someone's organizing a gangbang in the background. That's, yeah, please do.
I am delivered. I don't have Grindr anymore. That shit. There's too many Tina users in the Bronx, like on Grindr.
That's all that's on there. It's just it's so crazy that like there's some really good quality men who like I used to know who had like nice. Oh my God, this is getting a little explicit, but we're all adults here, right? You know, there's some guys that like I really was like having, you know, a good time with, and throughout the years recently, this whole epidemic with you know, Tina, crystal meth, like these men are trying to look for the next best drug, and it's making their dick soft, and they're becoming completely useless. Like, I'm not gonna, like, what's the point? Like, and then a lot of times when they're, you know, high, they are oblivious to the fact that their dick is soft. And they're trying to just keep on putting lube. I'm like, I can't have sex with a user. It's sad because some of these men are really good looking and they're letting the drug take over their life and their sex life. And then they're really,
are they still DL?
That's another topic.
If they're deep into that Tina Crystal lifestyle, isn't it harder to maintain you know, secrets and to remain DL and shit? Like, I don't know. Like, don't you have to be like super vigilant and all of that stuff? Are people gonna find out?
Someone said in the chat, someone said, Vulture Vlogger said, Sin's voice is so soothing. Has she had vocal feminization?
Oh my God. I don't really like talking about like my surgeries.
Wait, what are you trying to say? That me and Kachunga don't sound... Wait. Are you trying to say that me and Kachunga are clocky? Do me and Kachunga sound like men?
Baritone. That's what we're giving.
Wait, guys. Can I just...
How you doing?
Yo.
Stop! You need to stop! Oh my God!
Hey, Ashley, how are you doing that? Like, how do you see the messages that people are sending?
You said what? How do I what?
How are you seeing the messages that people?
Oh, so basically, go to the Tea Time Network YouTube. I'm gonna send it to you right now. I'm gonna message to you right now. But hey, Brianna's in the comments. Brianna Jenkins. Brianna was on a crazy, wild. One of the podcasts that we did 2 weeks ago was. Brianna's definitely a trooper. She stood through that. It was intense. You know, Fox and Jaisha, they had like a real life exchange. And, you know, I think that what I love the fact that we always have these conversations and we're just not afraid to have these conversations. You know what I mean? Even if they're not popular conversations, because, you know, once it starts getting too popular, then it becomes, problematic. So sometimes I feel like this is like a little secret Tea Time Network cult where we have these little conversations and stuff, you know? And yeah, I don't really, the numbers don't really matter. I feel like some people feel like, you know, why keep doing it? Because I know someone's listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, particularly for me, because I discovered you in my early transition, it was like a savior for me. You know, I really needed that closeness community because I was still too nervous to go and meet trans girls in real life, if I'm honest. And so having access to you guys online was exactly what I needed because I learned so much about what to prioritize, making sure I went and got my laser, and also to mitigate my expectations. You know, like no one tells you what to expect. I imagined that, you know, as soon as I took my first hormone, then everything would be cool. You know, that I would be, you know, dating and married within a number of months. I didn't realize how difficult life was going to be, and I needed girls who knew that closeness and stuff. So regardless of how popular the platform is, it's about the impact than it has in the
Right,
media.
definitely. That's what I see. And for those who do not know, Sin and Yanni was on 2 episodes of True Tea NYC. If you go into the Tea Time Network, look for True Tea NYC, and you can catch Sin on there. We coined a term called Ghost Bay, and I know that I kind of put her on blast about a situation, but I think a lot of trans women, speaking about, you said that you felt like we were supposed to have like a fairy tale ending, like once you transition. But, a lot of us deal with this. We're having sex with these men who are in the closet, in denial. And it's like, it's so crazy how we are living in our truth, but the men that we sleep with are living in a lie. And how backwards is that? We might as well all be in the closet.
Right.
I think Kachanga, I just wanted to say something about what you were saying. Like,
and Kachanga is on Tea Time London. I have to shameless promotion for those who do not know, because I feel like people may be coming in for the first time.
Sure.
I also feel like I tend to isolate myself. The only kind of like capacity that I have to engage with other people is sometimes online. So I hear you when you say like tea time, and just like even having Ashley, like whenever I hit her up, she hits me up. She's there always. So sometimes like my only capacity is to engage with people online. So I was always really grateful for tea time too, because like when I sat in my house for like 3 months and would only go out for work or school, like my only friends would be people that I would engage online with,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wait, can I say something about the whole Victoria's Secret thing again? I just wanted to say something about like
No, I'm silencing you. I'm joking. I'm joking.
It's relevant to what we're talking about, because I just wanted to say, like, I think there's a difference between like the girls that we're seeing talk about this versus like some of us, because I feel like those girls, a lot of them, we know them to be like PostOp, and I feel like that's a whole different quote unquote fantasy than girls.
But do men fantasize? But let's be really, really honest. And I'm not trying to disrespect anyone who's had SRS, but do cis men really fantasize about post-ops?
Okay, I think.
I mean, like, do cis men? No. Let's really explain this. Are cis men fans? And this is why there's so much shade between the community because of pre-op versus post-op. Cis men, most men, they fantasize about pre-ops, and a lot of the post-ops feel no shade. Not all of them. There are some post-ops that I know that they got the SRS, they're living their best life. But there are some post-ops that are still living in a pre-op world. They're living in a pre-op world and a pre-op mindset, and they're dating I'm reading tonight. This is Ashley without Fox Giselle. I'm really spreading my wings. So there's girls that are they're in this pre-op world, and they want to throw that I have a pussy. But why are you still in the gay club, sis? Why are you still in the trans clubs? Like, why don't you live in a pre-op fish world? Some of you girls cannot live in that world. You are stuck in the trans world because you are undeniably trans. You got the SRS, but you still look trans. And you have to accept that. I think some girls get the SRS and they feel like they're going to enter a new world of cis privilege, and it's just not the reality.
Some do. I think if you get your SRS and you're super passable, then I do think you do enter a new mode of being. You pass in a different way.
I don't know like what that would be like, but I can only imagine like yes, you might be accessing like cis privilege by getting SRS, but wouldn't it be so fucking lonely if you had a pussy, but then everywhere you go you hear people saying transphobic shit and you know that that's who you are, and people are disrespecting who you are, but people don't know it. Like at
but
work.
That's what infuriates a lot of post-ops to hate on pre-ops because they feel that, damn, I got this done and people still think I'm you. They still think I'm a chick with a dick, and they want to escape that. You have to. That has to be a transit. I feel like there is a spiritual transition that has to happen before you do anything surgical. You know, like you have to. If you're not, you can't expect your body to say female, but your mind is not saying female. You know, and yeah, you know what I mean.
And you know, for me, when I started working, I said, like, because I work in kind of like I work around a lot of cis people. So when I started working, I said, okay, I'm not going to talk about my transness because I feel like if I make it, even if people clock me, if I actually confirm it, it might make things harder for me in the work environment. Like, and I was telling Trey this, and he was like, "Oh no, like we're in 2018, people can't just like do that to you. You can go to HR." But I was just like, "You don't like. I've dealt with this before. Like, you don't have like they don't have to explicitly say it, but things will change. And if especially higher ups, if managers want to fire you, they don't need a specific reason. Like they could just make some shit up. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll be harder on me because I'm trans or whatever." So when I went in, I said I wouldn't talk about my transness. But the thing is, like, it's 2018, so all my coworkers will have brought it up at one point. Like I'll be like kikiing with some of them, and then they'll start talking about trans people, and they'll be saying wild shit, and I just can't sit there and be like, oh, like I can't kiki with them because like I know, you know, where I've come from and like who I be around when I'm not at work. So yeah, like I don't know, I just can't imagine like getting a pussy and then like navigating this world, and then like you because you have a pussy now you feel like you have to be stealth, but then people are disrespecting like where you've come from all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like I would feel really lonely. Like I have a pussy, I can't tell people I'm trans, but I really want to stand up for trans people when they disrespect trans people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think when I read about Janet Mock's story, the second book, Surpassing Certainty, there was this really deep melancholy to a lot of those experiences, because in her first book she spoke about her having her best friend Wendy, and when they were walking around in Hawaii as teenagers and stuff, and you know, Janet was, you know, particularly fishy, and you know, would try and walk ahead of the girls or behind the girls to separate and separate herself from them. But I think when she finally came out, when she left her stealth life behind, it sounded like she was doing so as an act of liberation, and that being stealth wasn't that enjoyable. And you know, I have to say this myself about my own life as well, that I had my first experience of living stealth this year. For around 6 months I was living in the West Country in England, and because of the stage that I'm at in my transition, you know, being on hormones for a little while, and you know, I've had a bit of work done and whatever.
There be a messy in them comments.
I know.
Continue. You clock it.
Yeah, I am. But yeah, basically, I really enjoyed the ease that came with being stealth. I can't lie, you know, going shopping and not having to think about stuff, and you know, just like no more verbal harassment on the streets. And you know, I went out without makeup on for like the first time, and it was really liberating, I can't lie. But after a few months, I found myself just feeling so isolated, and you know, constantly I thought that I would stop living in fear of being clocked. But if anything, it made it worse. Because I wasn't getting clocked, it was like, oh my God, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna come? And yeah, now where I've moved to, there are so many more trans girls around. And some times have changed because I'm seeing, just gonna say it, look, quite clocky trans girls, very early girls, working in public, you know, working in retail, you know, living their lives and stuff.
Right.
And
Shout out to all the girls that are working and that are working girls that are saving up for their work the right way. You know, wait, let me rephrase, not the right way, because I'm not gonna knock the fact that, you know, getting just working, period. Like however you do it, because you know at the end of the day you're working for your transition and live a better life. I mean, it is a hard life. Being clockable, you do have to face more things in life. It's not like, you know, that's why sometimes I really am confused with people who choose to express as gender non-conforming. Not that I'm confused, really. It's just that I'm afraid for them, because if I used to get people taunting me for looking the part, I can imagine what a man with a beard and a lace wig gets, you know? So I feel like, you know, there are a lot of girls out here that really want to not live in stealth, but they want to live a decent life without being questioned. Am I a man or a woman? You know, I was at Dunkin' Donuts the other day, and I was at Dunkin' Donuts, and then I'm not sure, but I think one of the workers clocked my tea to the other worker, because, you know, sometimes they want to let everyone know. So he told him, oh, she's a tranny. As if he's supposed to not be pleasant or nice to me. You know, I feel like some people will go out their way to disclose your tea because they want you to be mistreated, and it's fucking sad. And most of the times it is the butch queens that do it, you know?
Well, obviously, are we going to talk about that? Let's go, because I was really grateful when Sharon brought up Tracy Africa and the fact that it was a butch queen that outed her when she was working on the Essence photo shoot. And
who's to say that a butch queen ain't the person that was casting for the Victoria's Secret, an 80-year-old, 70-year-old butch queen with a worn out hole who does not want, who gets in drag and has to pay for trade. How do we know that the person that's casting Victoria's Secret isn't a transphobic, wannabe trans, misogynistic BQ, you know? He doesn't want the world to see trans women as fantasies because he knows that they're fantasies, but he might lose his trade to them.
Well, they are. They already are. So I think, yeah, that's probably where the bitterness is coming from. I think it's when our girlfriend Maya Moniz came to stay in London, there was...
Right. Live for her. Yeah, I want to see her. I want to see her but now I want to see girls who already have the resume of a trans model. What shocks me is people who want the community support to get these gigs when they haven't done much to get that gig. You know what I mean? Yeah. But continue. I'm sorry.
Something. But here's the thing. So I was saying the reason that I brought up my man is because when she was here, there were a couple of incidents with a couple of gay guys out here where, you know, they'd be drunk and they'd try to read her and everything. And we were talking in the kitchen about where the antagonism and the tension came from. And she was of the opinion that, you know, they raised that in spite of their same-sex attraction, that that there was something wrong with honoring, you know, femininity, like, you know, by denying feminine expression that made themselves better. And what could be more galling to them than you know, a whole transsexual in front of them who's, you know, had the confidence and the goal to bring out the divine feminine energy in us, and to be living successful, wonderful, joyful lives, that there's something that really angers them about that. And I've got to be real and say that sometimes, particularly when I'm in gay areas, I will be living my life, you know, just applying my lip gloss, and out of the corner of my eye, I see very often a very effeminate bottom who is literally giving me the most evil glare of jealousy. And sometimes I'm like, just sis, just transition already. You know, if that's really what you want to do, you don't have to hate on me. Like, you can do it too. And sometimes because I always, the hate that I receive is very rarely, I mean, I've heard transphobic things from the full range of different gender expressions. It's nothing to do with that. But in terms of where I get the most performed hatred, it's definitely from, you know, the effeminate bottoms, the ones who, just gonna say it, don't really have the confidence to transition, being honest.
Right. Do you think that there's something called, because this is how I feel when it comes to like living stuff and stuff. I feel like some girls, like myself, we have trans energy where there's like this trans goddess energy. We walk in the room, we sashay, we flip our hair, you know, we're a little extra. And, you know, it's easy to get the tea because of how we, not only how we look, or how we speak, but how we move, and how, you know, like there's like a, do you believe in a trans energy that the girls have where you can just get the...
Yeah, so sometimes I'm moving through the world, and it's not, what gets me caught isn't necessarily, you know, my outfit or, you know, something about my face, my look, but it's just because I'm just so fucking bullshit. You know, and like I'm moving through the world with this unbridled, you know, femme fatale kind of energy, when really, like, you know, cis women have been raised to not celebrate themselves in that way. And I think, yeah, it's not so much being socialized male, but I think that there's a disregard we have for people's expectations. You know, we've gone through so much that we're just like, you know what, fuck it, I can't be bothered, you know, to kowtow to everyone's expectations of what a woman should be and how a woman should behave. You know, I've gone through enough. Like, this is my time. I'm just gonna goddess it up.
That's what I mean. Like, even with this whole like DS thing, it's about that. It's like we're trying to fit ourselves into a mold that we just don't belong in. Like you said, they were so crushed by BS because they kind of had all of this investment in this in their proximity to cisness, and I kind of act like just like dealing with trade, dealing with boys, and also just navigating this world as me. Like, I'm kind of getting tired of having to conform to all the like there's so. Okay, listen, when I transitioned, nobody told me about all these like rules about like, you know, like I feel like when I do this, like, for example, when I deal with trade, right, I always say to them, like, I did not grow up as a girl. Like, I mean, I grew up thinking I was a girl, but I didn't grow up with the same rules. Like, people didn't expect the same shit from me. So one thing that really bothered like the trade that I was dealing with is that I was on Grindr, I was on Badoo, like before I met him, I was like, you know, I was doing my thing, and he just couldn't deal with it, because he was like, how could you just be like going around giving it up to people? And it's like, I'm not like these girls you've been dealing with. Like,
yeah, you can't slut shame me in the same way, because I know there's a freedom that comes through being a slut. And I just think, like, if you've experienced sexual freedom, that even post transition, they can't put you back in that box. You know, like you can't tell me, oh, like how dare you, like, you know, be so promiscuous and enjoy it. You know, that's unladylike. When you've experienced that, like, there's nothing more wonderful than, you know, getting all the dick you want and feeling fully satisfied and not giving a shit about someone else's opinion of that. Like, it's not a privilege, but it's just, I think I agree with you. I think it's much harder to slut shame a trans girl because, you know,
listen, we're all hoes. Like, we all grew up hoes. Like, I don't care if you're like the most respectable trans girl there is. You probably, like, honestly speaking. And it's like, I think it's so insidious that gay men propagate that so much. Like, I have so many gay men always telling me, like, I'll just be joking. Like, I'll be like, I don't know, it's mad cold outside. My balls are like freezing. Or like, and they'll be like, ew, that's so unladylike. I'm like, bruh, you know that.
Really? Oh,
like, you
stop.
You know
that's ridiculous.
Oh, this will be a great time. So for those that are watching, can you please like this, because we have 25 people watching or listening. I did like a little like experiment show with 2 trans girls and a transvestite. It's called Tea Girl Sex Talk, and I'm gonna put it out later on this week. And basically, they were just talking about loving, you know, girls loving their penis. The fact that it's so taboo, people feel like you're supposed to be ashamed of having a dick. And where are the girls who are non-operative that don't want the sex change? And why are they shamed for using their penis?
Well, because the thing is, if we were open about our lack of dysphoria downstairs, then like what the transphobes and the trolls and the trans would say is, see, well, you know, you're men then. You're comfortable being a man. If you're saying that you're comfortable with that, then, you know, you're a man. If you don't want the surgery, then clearly you're just a gay dude in a dress. You like to put a wig on. You're just doing it for
right. But you know what kills me about that? Someone said, "Oh, Ashley, mine gets worshipped." I know that's right. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what makes us the fantasy. Let's keep it 1,000. That's what makes us the fantasy. That's what makes them want us. Let's be really honest. You know, the cis girls and many, because they want, and a lot of these men, you know, there are men who fantasize about trans women. Sometimes they act on it. Sometimes they don't act on it. You know, sometimes all we are to them is in their browser history. You know. Someone said men love tits and dicks. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's just not talked about. But what you were saying about if we were open about loving our penis, that people will call us men. But then that we have to just get back to the whole fact that we are not defined by our genitals. Females don't want to be defined by their vaginas, but they use the fact that they have a vagina to legitimate their womanhood. Like, sis, you want to be more than a baby incubator, but you're using your vagina to say that I'm a real woman. What is a real woman if we're not defined by body parts? So yeah, I'm a woman and I have a fucking penis and these men love it. So what?
Yeah, I think it's you know, because sometimes when I'm speaking to these trans attracted guys, I love to ask them about the way their sexuality functions and stuff, because I've begun to find it quite boring. They are all femme attracted. They're all attracted to femininity.
I'm so bored of like helping men like come to terms with like how. I'm so tired of helping trade come to terms with how complicated their sexuality actually is. Because you know what's crazy is I dealt with so much trade that they, like, when they first started fucking with me, they would be like, oh, you know, I don't suck your dick because I'm gay. I suck it. I want to please you. And then like a couple months down the line, they're like, you know what? I think I am bi or pan. And I'm like, yo, I just like, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I hate being an avenue to all that.
So you're the vehicle for them learning how to understand themselves And it's an
right, but I don't think that makes
relationship.
them gay. I think that it's these roles and these titles that we give people. If a cis man is straight identified and he comes over and he wants to lick on my she meat, that's a new term I heard. I heard the girls call it. I heard, yeah. On Tiga, Sex Talk comes out, the girls start talking about the show that's going to come out this week. The girls talk about what do they call their penis. The trans girls, some of them said she meat, pussy stick, she-ness. So when a cis man gives me oral, I don't see him as gay. What happens is the girls who, a lot of the trans girls, they identify the men as gay because a lot of the girls don't like getting head, and they feel that having a penis makes them a man, so they see themselves as men until they get SRS, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that is, I mean...
Like, how many girls do you know that tell guys, ew, you like giving head? That's gay. Like, what?
Yeah, no, I do know girls who say that. But, like, maybe...
You're ruining it for them. I need that sloppy, wet mouth.
Isn't that just the way that their dysphoria is set up? Someone just, Lady Bay just said, hashtag get the strap. This is hilarious. But, I think that, I don't think that if someone's giving me oral, that makes them gay. And obviously, you know, anal, like, it's becoming a lot more popular. But I can't lie that when men are obsessed about me topping them, it does make me feel awkward. And I kind of, like, I want them to want it, but I don't necessarily want them to obsess about it.
Right, it gets creepy. Like,
yeah, I get
like, I want you to fuck me with your tranny cock.
Exactly.
It gives very much like every now and then. Like, don't, like, I like, don't.
Yeah, same. That's me as well. Like, every now and then. Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like they're not. I don't know if I would say they're gay, but like, that's the thing. But I don't think we have language to say like what that is. Like, if a guy likes women, but he also really, really, really likes women with dicks, like, how, like, what is that then? Is that bisexuality?
Maybe it's a bisexual. Maybe he has a bisexual throat.
Yeah. Look, listen, I think that it's broad. I don't think that we can. I think the majority of these men are straight, trans attracted men. Right. I think that some of these men,
because they're not living gay lifestyles. I feel like
they don't have any sort of no responsibility to any sort of LGBTQ community. They don't want to go to Pride. They don't have stories about, you know, growing up different and think. They didn't think about this until they were adults and discovered transsexuals, and that was the thing. But yeah, I'm saying majority of them are straight. Some of them are bisexual. Some of them are pansexual.
Right.
But I think that there's a lot of overlap. Yeah, I mean, most 95% of them are down there. I don't meet many men who are open about their attractions to trans women at all. Like, probably 3 to 5% of men I meet in general will tell anyone. Maybe 1 or 2 friends, but not many.
Yeah, well, it all goes back to shame, you know.
Yeah, because most of those guys that are attracted to trans women, they're from communities, and they have networks of like relationships, friendships in the straight world. So they don't really have an avenue to kind of like to, you know, discuss that, you know. But I feel like there is a growing, especially in New York City, there's a growing community of trans attracted men, and I do feel
who speak to each other.
Yeah, I do think so. I think they
if they're not hooked on drugs, I hope. You know, I feel like most of them, they speak to each other about robbing the girls and coming over and getting them high so they can run off with their laptops. You know, there's a group of trans attracted men who are on Grindr and they look to lure girls over, talking about they're doing threesomes, me and my homie, and then the girls go and they get turned, they get drugged, they get raped, and they get robbed. You know, this is happening. I would hope that there's a group of men that, you know, have trans girlfriends and they get to vent amongst each other about how it is being a straight man in society and loving trans women. It's like there's really no role models for that. You know, you don't see men, you know, even the Tiger situation, it was so evident that the girl had the pictures of his penis. Like no one else had it but her. She was a trans girl. You know what's so crazy? The fact that he still denies it and he's still doing his thing. What if he would have owned that, you know?
I think we are really waiting for the first male celebrity to be open about his attraction to us. The man who deserves a shout out for being the vanguard is Troy Kennedy. He lives in Michigan. You must have seen him talk with Diamond Styles on her YouTube. Like very handsome black guy. Yeah. But he is very open. Also, do you guys watch the Trans Amorous Network?
I've heard of it. I've never seen anything from them, but I've heard of it.
It's a YouTube channel, and they're super progressive. I really enjoy listening to them. Like when I shared their videos with my ex, just because I felt like he was feeling quite lonely about it, but
right. But you know what I noticed, that well, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to say this. Let's not negate the fact that there are a lot of men who they don't get a lot of play from females and they turn to trans women as a last option and as a last resort. So we do know that those are kind of guys that we do not need to entertain. Men who are not wanted by cis women and they just feel that they might as well settle for us, you know? And I feel like that happens a lot too. You know, the girls are dealing with these nothing ass ninjas. And we have to know that, you know, as much as we're putting into our life and our body, like, you know, as far as our image, we need to be with men who take pride in themselves too. You know, I feel like some girls feel like they have to deal with a no good man because no one wants them and no one wants him.
I mean, can you blame them considering what we hear? The guy.
No, I wasn't saying that guy. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, sorry. I have no idea, girl. That makes no sense. How is somebody running a trans Aramis network and married to a cis girl? That's a fucking fraud.
Well, I mean, is it? I mean, that sounds actually quite typical, if I'm being honest, considering the men that I date, that I'm coming into contact with.
Oh, he's married to a cis woman and he dates trans girls on the side? Okay, well.
I mean, that's normal. That's quite mundane, to be honest.
Well, I mean, yeah, I want to get away from this whole being the side chick. I'm just so tired of this whole, we have to be with men and we have to be their side piece. It's so old now. It's like side chicks are like so 2012. You know, we're like working to be the main bitch, you know? So I wanted to talk to you girls about this whole thing that's going on where different states are in America. I don't know if they're doing this in the UK, but there are people, quote unquote, trans girls who are starting DL exposed groups where they're sharing photos of men that they had sex with and outing them to females. What do you think about this? Do you think that we need to be exposing?
Ashley, you know that I was talking about this because okay, I don't want to talk about the dead, but like there was some. I think you were the one that posted about this originally, right, Ashley? Like that's something.
Yeah, well, I heard someone said that the person that allegedly someone killed themselves, but I found out that there was no sources that verified that. So all we know is that we don't know that if someone killed themselves over being exposed, but what we do know is that there are groups that are being made in Chicago and other states where the girls are which I don't think that they're really trans girls. I think it's gay guys getting in drag and having sex with straight guys and exposing them.
Wow.
Allegedly, there's exposed groups that are geared to expose men on Facebook.
I think
so
that if it is true that someone like lied about it, I think it's so crazy that people are saying that people are killing themselves over being exposed just so that they can further, like, what's the word? Like, they can further kind of like accuse trans women of wrongdoing. It's like the first thing that I heard, that I saw people were saying was like, oh, see, this is what y'all girls do. You guys are literally killing these men. And it's like, bro, no,
they're killing us.
It is never that serious. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, if you kill yourself because people know that you fuck trans women, that's not on the trans girl. That just says a lot about the people that you're around and just like the culture that you were, the culture that bred you, and it's a lot about how you are impacted by that culture. Like you value this culture so much that you would let it kind of like, I don't know where I'm like trying to go.
You made a strong point. I hear exactly what you're saying. I think though that what is telling about what you said, Ashley, is that there was a rumor that this was actually gay guys in drag who were doing this. Now, the reason I find it interesting is because the original.
Wait, someone said in the comments that it was a cis girl pretending to be trans, and she was exposing men who messed with her. That's sad. Like, girl, a lot of females need to understand that men who are attracted to females are attracted to trans women. Most of the times, trans women who look like women, they are attracted to them.
Yeah, they want us to look convincing and possible as possible, but that was really quite tragic. But I was going to talk about the fact that the original guy who did this was a black gay guy called Marquise Rivers. Have you guys heard about him? Oh
yeah, the DL detective. Yeah, I heard he got shot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he got shot. But I just Googled, and apparently he's still going for it. There's a video of him chopping a guy. Questions about whether it was.
He charges females to watch the videos of the men that he has sex with, which is crazy that females. And where is he, in North Carolina? He's in the Carolinas somewhere. I'm not sure, but like, it's just sad that females are paying to see a gay man have sex with straight men. You know, and I'm like, you have to realize these men are not exclusive to none of us. These men are they're situational guys where, depending on the situation, I can say it's situation. Depending on the situation, they will act on whatever sexual advances they get. Like, they need someplace to stay. They need a new pair of sneakers. They want a new iPhone X. Like, a lot of these guys that are balling, you should not be shocked if they got a sugar daddy on the low. And a lot of females need to get that. Like, how many dudes you should be fucking with that always got money, but they got no job and they don't sell weed? Like, a lot of these men are like, they got sugar daddies. And a lot of gay men, they get on these apps and they message and they offer men money to have sex with them. And then these guys who normally are only attracted to females, they're being propositioned with offers they cannot refuse. So they don't identify as gay, but they're just doing gay stuff to get money.
But also, are there a few gay men who are cross-dressing for the dip? Is that for the trade? That's what.
Oh yeah, the butch queens always do that. They put a wig on and put TS and and then they try to convince the guy to have sex with them as their male presenting self. And sometimes the guys do when they establish that that connection, whatever. But most of the time, the guy would want them to always be presenting as a girl. And that's probably what gets some of the butch queens and drags upset with us, because we some of us live this life and we don't take off our socks. We don't have socks in our bras. We don't take off our butt pads. We have actual body and we look the part. So that makes them feel away with us. Like, oh, you fucking bitch. You get all the trade. Fuck this hoe. That's where the dirty looks come into, because it's like men control everything. Everyone's always thinking that bitch probably gets so much dick. I hate her. You know? And yeah.
See,
so
are you finding that as you're getting go on.
What are you gonna say?
I was gonna ask if as you're getting older, are you getting bored by it? Is that like I can't lie, but you know, as in my early transition, I was so desperate. And I love the validation that I got from the trade. But now I'm just finding myself nowhere near as boosted by their attention. You know,
I feel it's getting sad.
They're boring to me. Like, it's really
it's becoming really played out, because as you get older, and you know, there's so much. I want to get so much more work done. Like, you know, when the coin comes, you know. But the more I will put into my look, I'm gonna become more like, I don't have to deal with this shit. What? You know, because they want to treat you. You know, let's say you get, you know, nose done, brow bone shaved, jaw shaved. You do all this work, and they want to still treat you like a cross-dresser. And to put up with that is just like, no, it's gonna infuriate me. I'm not gonna be being treated like an early transitioner when I'm this far along and I look the way I do. You know, you're not gonna. I'm not no longer a cum dump. You know, you start really, because at first we do deal with that. The boys that just want us to suck it, and we're so happy for some straight dick. Then after a while, you're like, you know, I deserve more than this. And I want more than this. So, Sin, I wanted to get with this real quick. Like, I know, as an Asian trans girl, do you find yourself being fetishized? Like, because you're a T girl Asian? And you're Asian. Like, do you feel like you're being seen as like, because a lot of guys say, oh, I love Asian girls, you know? So you put that on top of being trans. Like, how is it with you when you when you let guys know that you are trans as an Asian woman?
I don't really know, because I feel like experience, your perspective and your experience is so singular. Like, how do I compare? I can't really compare my experience with like other girls. I feel like it's pretty much the same. I mean, if you're like, I don't know. I don't really know. I think I definitely get fetishized though, but I think all trans women get fetishized. Like,
but do you, when you're talking to these men, how many of them are explicitly saying to you, oh my God, I love Asian girls. You're so pretty. You're so petite.
You know what? Yeah, a lot of them do say that, but I don't really.
It's true. It's real. It's real. It's happening. So add that with you being Asian and being trans. Oh, they're gonna explode before they get to your place.
I guess the feeling that I'm trying to communicate is that I'm not appreciative of that. Like, I don't.
No, of course not, son. There's no one's implying that this is something that you're cultivating or you're, you know, glorifying it at all. But at the end of the day, as women of color, we are stereotyped and we are pigeonholed by our ethnicity. So the reason that I wanted to drive that home is that obviously the majority of the men that I'm speaking to are saying, oh, I love black girls. Oh, I love that. Give me that big black booty, like, you know, etc. So I'm asking it, just to know how you navigate that, negotiate that. Like, is it something that, is it going to alleviate with time, or do you only value men who don't do that, for example?
I think maybe the difference is that, like, a lot of my Black or Spanish trans girlfriends, they'll tell me that just like from what I've seen, like, them talk about, a lot more guys want them to top them, but I don't really get that many guys who want me.
Sure.
So I think that's
Sure.
because I think a lot of guys just see me as like, you know, the submissive, like really petite. Yeah. So
But let me ask you, would you bend them over? Would you? Would you? Is there a dominatrix in you?
It's not even being. I feel like for me, it's not even being about dominatrix. Like I feel like I don't know if topping is always like a dominant thing. Like I feel like you could be a dominant top. Like I don't know.
You could be a femme. You could be a femme top. I'm a femme top. I'm versatile fully. But when I top, I don't feel like a man. I'm a bitch who's putting it down.
Okay. Well, you know, caress the back of the head, darling. I mean, you know, a nice little shoulder rub as you drive that one home. Okay, great. That's sensuous.
So what you're saying is like basically, so yeah, a lot of the men like they assume that Black and Latino girls they have to be packing, like, oh, you're packing.
Oh yeah, you must have a real big part. Oh, you're hung. Yeah, like I get that all the time. Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, I want a BBC. They're telling the transcript. But like I know that like it's so crazy. We're talking about Victoria's Secret and runways. I know that like a lot of in Asian countries or like over there, they like praise like lady boys and like everywhere they have their own passion. Everything is like you see. They're so celebrated. And in America, like we don't really get to like see them. So I could imagine like men messaging you and calling, like, do you get called a lady boy?
Well, I'm really,
like, please, like when I ask you, please don't think I'm coming for your womanhood, because I feel like when you hear the word boy, it kind of like plays like on your mind, like I'm not a boy, but people like, you know, like even with bussy, like a lot of people are like adapting these words and they're not like interpersonalizing it, you know. So have you been called a lady boy?
It's actually like the opposite of what you're saying. Like I like the word lady boy because I feel like it kind of, I don't know, I just like it because I feel like it denotes gender and race. Like when you say lady boy, you automatically picture like an Asian trans girl. So I don't know. I kind of like that. There's just like one word that kind of like can describe like I don't know two of my identities. And about like you know people calling me lady boy, like I don't mind it if I know him. Like if I'm fucking with a guy for a while, like I've been fucking with this guy and he kind of has because I kind of share with him a lot of like my internalized trans misogyny, and I've kind of opened up to him about like how sometimes, you know, I do see myself as like so one time I was like I see myself as a femboy, and then I kind of laughed about it, and so this is kind of fucked up, and this probably is like not okay. Like you guys probably wouldn't be okay with this, but sometimes he'll joke around. He'll be like, "Yeah, I'm just fucking with the femboy." Like one time, I told him about like an LGBT. One time.
Well, no. I mean, I had a guy one time, and we're all girlfriends here, so I don't feel. I hope there's no judgment. But there's a guy that I fuck with. You know, nice, tall, slim, big dick, black boy. Like I like him. He was fucking me, and he said, "Give me that boy pussy." And I was like, oh God. For a second, I was like, the activist in me was like, while he's mid stroking me, I'm like, okay, you know what? You're crossing the line. This is not no boy pussy. But in a way, I learned to like, you know, like freak talk and sex talk. Yeah. We can't always like hold them accountable for it, you know?
Yeah, like a part of me is like, nah, you cannot joke about that. But then another part of me is like, okay, I would not. If I fucked a guy for the first time and he was like, oh, give me that boy pussy, I'm not doing that because that was just but if I if I build a repertoire with this guy, we do have those inside jokes. Like for example, one time I told him about a gay career fair. I was like, yo, I'm going to this LGBT career fair. I hope I get a job. And then he was like, oh, why did you tell me about it? I'm like, why the fuck would I tell you about it? What the fuck are you gonna do there? he's like, I could get I might need a job in the future. Like, you're not gay. He's like, but I'm fucking with you. I was like, yo, this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I couldn't take that. I couldn't. I realized hearing you guys talk that I am so fastidious about my vetting process. Like, so my boundaries are all worked out at the beginning. I've become very demanding in my dating profiles and stuff, particularly because I'm in recovery. I have to say, can't be around any alcohol or drugs, and I have to drive that one home. And then when I'm speaking with them and I'm asking them to come through at a particular time, are you in a relationship, etc., etc., there's a lot of opportunity for them to use the language that they've become accustomed to and natural with. And if I do get someone call me a lady boy or say something else that is either inaccurate or inappropriate or offensive, I am very eager to block people, and it's led to me not being.
But during sex, like midway through sex, if someone says, "Give me that black tranny ass," like, are you gonna like stop him and tell him, "You cannot call me tranny"?
Yeah, I
actually think it's the opposite.
Yeah, I would. I would. Midway through, I would definitely stop at this point.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't always have done, but yeah. Pull the dick out and school him.
Yeah, because it's not it may not. I may not school him, but I mean, obviously, it's not a problem if I go soft. But like,
it's all about boundaries. I think boundaries are really important. I think that's what it boils down to, having boundaries. Some people, what one girl might find freaky and okay during sex may be offensive to someone else. Like, if I'm topping a guy and he calls me daddy, in a weird way, it's like. It happens a lot. A lot of girls. a lot of girls call daddy because and I learned not to interpersonalize that, because they're calling you daddy because you're taking a dominant role over them.
Yeah.
So I don't see myself. Oh, I'm a big old man. I'm daddy. No, you're daddying him.
But it is a little, something like mistress at least. My gosh, daddy.
Right, but based on what they say during sex, it's very telling to their experiences. If a guy's calling my ass boy pussy, then obviously, if you're calling my ass boy pussy, then that's what you deal with, boy pussies. That's what I'm gonna get from that the next time I do with you, or if I want to do with you again. Right, exactly. And a lot of guys, like someone said in the comments, they think that we're all on Drag Race, They think we're all RuPaul's Drag Race, and that we don't have womanhood, and that we're just doing this for sex. And some people are, but we have to let them know, I think, what we find appropriate and what we don't. But midway through stroke, I don't know if I'm ready to start preaching my rhetoric during sex, but I'll let them know afterwards if something they said offended me.
Yeah, if someone says that to me during sex, like, I'm the exact opposite. Like, if someone says that during sex, like, I would be offended.
You're that Asian boy pussy.
But the thing is, like, with me and this one boy, like, because I've shared with him my internalized trans misogyny, and I've said to him, like, yo, sometimes I'll ask him sometimes, I'm like, do you think that you're fucking with a boy? And like, when you go for, like, cis girls and stuff, that's like real girls that you're fucking. And so after I said that, I think him joking about that is like kind of him checking me. Like, he'll be like, oh yeah, I'm fucking with a femboy, right? And it's like kind of him being like you need to be more grounded in your womanhood, like rooted in your womanhood.
No. Okay, no. Sorry, son. I have to vehemently disagree with you here, because at the end of the day, you're not there to be tested with, and your self-esteem is not there. It shouldn't be a challenge for them to see how far they can go with you. That's a form of what they call negging, which I think people like these men's rights activists and incels talk about. Like, I mean, it's something that it's a trait of being an abuser. If they are pushing you to see how far they can offend, abuse, and disrespect you, that's a trait. That's someone grooming you for further abuse in the future. If you're grounded in your womanhood, then demanding to be respected is something that shows you how much you value your being and your self-esteem and your self-respect. By establishing those boundaries before you've had sex, you are protecting yourself from further hurt and trauma, in my opinion.
Can I soundbite everything you just said?
You can, absolutely, as long as you put my name at the end.
All right, credit Black trans women, credit the girl. Stop soundbiting without crediting. That was a good analogy. That really was.
But at the same time, I think the reason that I have become comfortable about saying things in the middle of sex is probably because of the type of kink that I'm into. I did the BDSM quiz the other day, and I found out that I'm a brat, which is like submissive who likes to push back somewhat, because I like to gently push. I like to push back on men in order for them to prove their masculinity. I don't feel like I've got anything to prove with regards to my femininity in any situation. Like, you know, I put the work in. I am smooth, I am fragrant, I am dusted, I am painted, I am curvy, I am juicy. Done. You know, and like really and truly the person who needs to perform their masculinity continually is him, that he has to prove his manliness. But, you know, all it takes is for a man to be called gay once in order for that illusion of masculinity to be broken. You know, like we get called everything.
That's crazy. That is crazy. These men need to have thicker skin. And they're going, when they're called gay, it's like the end of the world for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But I find that very interesting because we feel like we've come really far with regards to like gay marriage and gay acceptance and gay tolerance and everything. But when these men get called gay for sleeping with us, it's really as if they're being discarded. You are now defective as a man. Now that you are allowed to be called gay, you are outside of our realm of acceptability, you know? So like, even though it would appear that we've got a level of tolerance and that you're able to move through this world as a gay man with a lot more ease than previously, I do think that's very much the case. But at the same time, you're still being seen as a defective male in a way that women, cisgender women who are bisexual or pansexual are not. You are able to hold on to your womanhood. You're able to have children. You're able to have sex with a woman and go back and have sex with a man and have relationships with a man and then leave them and go back. You know, there's that freedom. Whereas for a man, like when that episode of Insecure, when Molly is speaking to that light-skinned guy and he admits that he got a blowjob from a guy once at university, and that for her made him gay for life, you know? And I just feel like that's what men are so scared of, is that by being open about their sexuality being a lot broader than just sleeping with cisgender women, that they are going to be ejected from public life forever, that they will never be considered male or masculine enough by their peers ever again.
That is really deep. That is you just read them their rights. I mean, that's their fear. The fear of being exposed. They feel like they will never be seen as that man, that nigga, you know? You know, so.
But I think sometimes that's why they're so confronted with us, because we have been, you know, made homeless, you know, abandoned by our families, estranged, you know, shat on a daily basis, and we still turn it. We still turn up to them as whole people.
We're kind of like the real life manifestations of all their fears. Actually, like, not even men. I feel like we're the manifestation of like society, like all of society's fears. Like when they see the trans woman who's out of the street, they think like, oh my God, this could that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do. Yeah, definitely. We have been told our whole lives that there's nothing worse than being a woman. There's nothing worse than being gay. There's nothing worse than being known as such. And we look at this whole chorus, this whole stadium, this whole concert room full of people and say, fuck you. You know, we turn around in the face of everything and say, yeah, well, you're all wrong. Fuck you guys. I'm doing it. I don't care how clocky I look for how many years. I'm doing it. Being a woman is worth it to me. I don't care if I never get to have children in my life. I'll never have a womb. But I will turn it. I am a woman. Fuck you. I'm a woman. You tell me to hate this, and I'm going to make this the most divine, sacred journey. And you guys will eat it, and you will stare at me in fascination. You cannot take your eyes off us. They're so fascinated with our way of being.
Everything you just said times 100. Like it's so true that they're like I've had men that literally I've been stalked. I mean, that's real too. Like I've had cis straight men stalk me places, and when I realize that they're looking at me, they want to turn their head, or sometimes they nod their head. But you're following me. You're staring at me. You're ashamed of your attraction for me to the point where you want to act like you don't like me. And you want the world to believe that you don't like me when you're obsessed with me. Well, ladies, we've been on for 2 hours. We need to, I like this format, the three of us, and Sharon too, even though Sharon just pulled a fox. She spoke for a little bit and just left. Sharon dropped the mic. Like, she just dropped the mic.
It's true. I think she dropped several. That was like a percussion. That was like the drum section. But Sen, honestly, I feel so grateful for having connected with you this evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, likewise. I love seeing all of you guys.
Right, definitely. So everybody in the chat, thanks for joining us. 25 people in here and there's only 10 likes. Them numbers ain't adding up. But yeah, it would be appreciative if some people in the chat room could start liking. Right now it's only 10 likes, 25 people. Okay, love yous all. Maybe we'll get together next Sunday. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, I think this is a good time for me.
I feel like this is so healing because I don't really get to talk to a lot of people like on a daily basis because I'm like I don't feel safe around my coworkers either. Like I can't talk about certain things with them. So this was really nice. Yeah.
Definitely. It's called sisterhood. Yes. Power. Yes. Power. Hashtag trans is sexy. Love yous all. Good night.
Take care. Bye, darlings. Bye, lovelies.